road trips. So I wanted to share some options and ideas for when you're going on a road trip. Specifically, what kind of food should you be taking? This is based on my experience with my family in the northern hemisphere. So we're in Canada. This might change or not really apply to you. So take a look at this as just suggestions and maybe see how you could adapt or use some of this information. The number one thing we're going to talk about is just water, taking that with you, how much water and things on that nature. Number two, some of the considerations around seasonal changes. So what different foods that we take with us in a winter trip versus a trip during summer. Number three is just dry food versus wet food. Number four is storage and where we're going to keep food in our vehicle. And then number five, tools and accessories we take with us in our road trip. Water. So in here, the approach or the ideas that work for us, for our family, is that each one of us will have a bottle of water. This one is the one that I carry for myself. It's from Microlite. You can put 500 mLs in here or 17 ounces. During summer, I'll put something cold in here. Most of the time, just water. On winter, though, I will typically boil water and then put that in here so I can enjoy some warm, water throughout the trip, because it gets extremely cold in here. So I'll always have that in here. Now, on top of that, again, during winter months, I will have this 10-liter jug of water inside of the truck. On summer, I can leave this in the back of the truck, which is fine. It won't freeze. If it's just a single day trip, I can also leave this in the back of the truck, and that's okay as well. Multiple days, that becomes a problem. This will become just a slab of ice, and you're not going to get any water out of it. But on summer and on shoulder season, so fall and spring is also okay. So this is made by a Canadian company called Reliance. I have 10 liters of water in here. Typically, I have two of them most of the time. So one, they're both drinkable. We can just use for cooking or drinking. But I typically carry more than we need. So water, because this is a road trip, or even if you're doing car camping, it's fine. I can take my extra water with us. What I like about this is that you can also just unscrew this portion here. I'll do this so you can see it. And then little spigot, they can drink right from here. So really, really likes that. So that's number one, water. So this changes over time, but most of the time, again, let's think about summer, right? I'll take juice for the children. I will also take some cereal bars like this one that we have in here. Sometimes we also add a bit of trail mix. This will have just chocolate and nuts. And when, again, either we are going on a hike, we can always just take this stuff out of the vehicle and then put in the backpack. Or we might want to swap. Or again, we're just in a road trip. Children will ask for snacks, so I always have snacks. We don't have to stop and buy them. And honestly, there are places out here that you really won't see civilization for a few hundred kilometers. So you want to be prepared and have extra food. I also carry some of these go-go squeeze with us, and you can change. This one is a strawberry flavor. You can just have apples, and they have a ton of different options for this guy here. And if we are, so let me remove this. If we are planning to stay a little longer, or if it's in a single site, or if we're traveling to a place that is far, I always take something like this here. So hazelnut spread or Nutella, if you find Nutella in your area, either that or something like peanut butter will work as well. And we take some bread with us, and we can do some sandwich or snacks for everybody really at this point. Again, either on a hike or in a day trip. So I'll take this. These are good. They will stay for a long time. They can stay in your car really for a long time. Of course, it says here that don't refrigerate, which is again, this could become a problem for us up here in Canada, where it can drop to like -30. And at that point, if I actually do have to do a trip somewhere, I keep this inside of the car. I keep this inside of a cooler. So that's kind of the approach that we take there. One thing that you want to think about is mixing dry food, like the cereal bars here, and then some wet food. So I'm kind of going with something like this go-go squeeze. You can also have beef jerky. Not everybody likes it. I like it. I know my wife doesn't like it. So this is a choice you can have if you want to have extra protein. So I'll put that in there too. We typically also carry something like a trail mix like this one. So you can kind of balance between having just dry food, which again, at the end of the day, you probably want some. They're lighter if you're going on a hike, for instance, but you will end up wanting some water. So you're going to have to balance that. I also take things like a juice for everybody, for the kids, for us. And I feel like that the balance between having dry food and then wet food, and again, this stays in our truck most of the time throughout the year. Only winter, I will remove this here. The go-go squeeze can actually stay. They won't become, an ice cube inside of the truck, but this will, and this will expand, and you might actually have, some issues where this will just swollen so much that you need to just toss it out. So I do mix both, and that will depend on the season. But I think that having options like the ones that we have here are good. Now, I have children, and at this age, this is kind of what they like. I feel that over time, what I would remove out of this here, potentially the apple juice, and put something else. This is still a good dessert, to be honest. So I still like this. We still eat those, so I kind of like that. Now, let's remove all of this here. I think that if you are staying for the day, right, you can always just pack some sandwiches, and you can buy some warm meal and take with you. But I want to give you what I believe is like the holy grail of this whole thing, which is if you can afford, because this don't really come that cheap, I would go with something like this, right? And I'm gonna show you some options, and I'm telling you what these are. So this from Mountain House, I'm not sponsored by any means. I bought this with my own money, but these were dry freeze food, right? You can see them in here, the freeze dried in here. I have mac and cheese on one side, and then I have scrambled eggs. I also have granola right here, and I do keep a couple of them in the truck. What I like about this is they really don't take much space at all, to be honest. You just need water. If you can boil water, you're good to go. You boil water, you put inside of one of these, you mix it up. It takes about 10 minutes, and it's ready. And the shelf life on this is just ridiculous at this point. This one, for instance, and I'm doing this on 2023, so this is good until 2051. So kind of crazy in that respect. Now, do I want to eat this every day? No. But again, for that road trip where I'm like in the middle of nowhere, or if you just want to keep them in the house, that's good too, as an emergency food. I do keep this in the truck because there are times where we're having fun. We don't want to take the kids out of, they're exploring an area, they're hiking a little bit on their own, and we're just tagging along. We don't want to go, we don't want to break that. So I will take this. That's one thing, but I feel like that's more of a, let's extend the amount of time we're spending outdoors. The second thing though is these road trips, you want to plan for the worst. And again, sometimes you have a flat tire, or your for in our case here, it might be stuck somewhere because of a wildfire or flood, or a snowstorm. And do you have things that you can eat in case you need to spend the night there? And it's not uncommon for that to happen. In the past few years, we've seen a few of those. Luckily, we ourselves have not had to, endure any of that situation. But we know of people who had. We read also on the news. So I would keep one of those, especially on winter, right? If you have to stay in your vehicle, are you ready for that? Are you prepared? I'll also link a video here from Bruce where he actually talks about how to stay, and really survive in your vehicle in case you have to. I would, on top of everything that Bruce talks about there, add some of the food that we mentioned here, water, and one of these, maybe a couple of those. So that's the idea there. I want to give you a different view of how this look like as well. So just to showcase how dry freeze food work. This right here, believe it or not, I'm just gonna put a couple of them here. There you go. These are Skittles, and once they were freeze dry, you can see they pop up, and you can still eat them. I opened the package. Of course, they, that right now they're not gonna last the shelf life that they were intended to, but you kind of have an idea. This kind of changed how food looks like. So storage is another interesting topic here. In our truck, we actually I've built this drawer. It sits under the seat in the back seat, and we store a lot of the food that I showed you in here. So you can see it when I recorded this during summer. We have a different selection of food in there because I do swap it out. So sometimes kids want crackers, and sometimes the kids will want different types of cookies and juice and things like that. So I will swap in and out what kind of food it gets in there. In your vehicle, if you don't have a space like that, you can always just have a cooler in the back seat or in the trunk where you store your food. So just some ideas or approaches on how you do that. Then one last thing is, what kind of tools you leave in the truck or in your vehicle in order to help you out with this road trip. So a few things here. I do like this mug here from Decathlon. You actually have inside of it, I'm just gonna put that in there. There you go. It's like a measuring cup, and you can just fold this back. It stores really well. It's not expensive. So I leave one of those in case I have to. Even the water, in case I'm getting one of those scrambled eggs from the dried freeze options that I have, or coffee or things like that. So carry one of those. I'm typically just carrying some of these like camping one as well. It's made of enamel, so it's good. And then I always have a little handy multi-tool in case I need to open something, you name it. So that's kind of what I typically have. Aside from that, if I have like straws or napkins, extra napkins, I do like to carry this too as well. So if you think you have kids and you're gonna get away from these baby wipes, I'm probably not getting away from them anytime soon. So I keep one of these in the truck at all times. The caveat to that, though, again, in winter, and when we actually have like a cold snap, when it goes like minus 30, minus 40, this will freeze. So if you know that's happening, take them out of the vehicle, put that in your house, essentially just water in here. So that'll be a problem. The rest of the year, keep one of those handy. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Try to keep it simple that way. Okay, with all of that, to recap, we talked a little bit about water and water sources and taking water with you. Talked about considerations around the different seasons. Talked about dry food versus wet food. Storage, where you're going to keep that in your vehicle. And then tools, things that you want to carry. I feel that most of these would apply for most folks, but you should consider your weather and where you're going for how long. So hopefully this was helpful and you took some ideas out of that. Thank you.